Welcome, 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 welcome. Hey, I'm even saying welcome to some of them Knicks fans. You are listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. The NBA Finals has been raw and gritty, a testament to old school basketball. In other words, there's some rough riders. I'm Spitface. Please welcome our host, the First Lady of Sports Talk, Cheryl Smith. Good morning, First Lady.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, that was a fantastic comeback by my New York Knicks. I was actually hyperventilating when that game was going on. I mean, we called them the cardiac Knicks. We called them the cardiac Knicks, and trust me, they had everybody's heart pumping real hard.
And we're joined by Kevy Kev to round it out this morning. How you doing, Kevy?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Spitface. I'm doing all right. And hey, First Lady, the Knicks, it's almost like they're going to make a movie out of this series.
Mm-hmm. We shall see.
Will Shaq produce it? All right, this week on Shout Out, we have performances from Children of Adam Band. Will they find their shining star or get the cold feel of the mute button? First Lady, we're ready. What you saying?
Each week, we try to figure out what is going on in the sports world. Not the plays of the week, more like the players of the week. Are they trying to tell us something? So we ask, what you saying? Fly, little birdie, fly. Time keeps on slipping into the future. Time keeps slipping into the future. So I want to fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let the spirit carry me. I want to fly right into the future. The little birdies known as the San Antonio Spurs wish they could fly far, far away from being down 3-1 versus the beast of the East known as the New York Knicks. The Knicks have shown that no lead is safe, coming back from a 29-point deficit to win Game 4 of the series. The Spurs have led with nice margins in almost every game to have the Knicks coming roaring back and win the game. Is this more about coaching or the players? At the start of Game 5, who would be the MVP for the Knicks? In order for the Spurs to win Game 5, who will need to be the X Factor? In order for the Knicks to win Game 5, who will need to be the X Factor? George Foreman, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, both rest in peace, Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr., and the Steve Miller Band are asking, what you saying? Well, what can I say? The Knicks definitely made a miraculous comeback in the finals. You know, that 29-point deficit is the most points for a team to come back in NBA Finals history. And the thing about it, the Spurs should have known that the Knicks will not quit, because for the past 2 playoff seasons, the Knicks have won 5 games being down 20-plus points. They were 22 points down in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs. That just happened this year. And last year, they did it twice to the Celtics. They were down Game 1 and Game 2 by 20 points, and they came back in both games, and that was in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And then they were down by 20-point deficits against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 3, and they came back. And they were the first team last year in the play-by-play era to have 3 comebacks in a single postseason run. So it seems to me that the Spurs should have known that, and they should have definitely continued on to play, which they did not. Well, they did play, but they played very recklessly. And, to me, giving up leads are more about coaching. And in the Spurs situation, it was about Mitch Johnson making strategic errors in that game in order for the Knicks to come back. Number one, he did not give Wemby enough rest. I mean, there was no reason. I think Wemby was probably out for like a minute or something in the second half. Why? Why would he be out that short of a time? They had a predominantly 20-point lead in the third quarter alone. For the entire quarter, they was up by over 20 points. he should have been resting and save it for the end, for the fourth quarter. But for some reason, he kept playing Wemby. And he gets very tired out. And he's been gassed. He was gassed at the end of that game. And that's some of the reason why he wasn't great defensively. He was missing a lot of his shots. And he couldn't even make the free throws. Now, to me, missing those 2 free throws, I think that wasn't the fact he was tired. I think he choked on those 2 free throws. But that was number one issue that Mitch Johnson did wrong. Number 2, he failed to have plays drawn up for Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper should have been initiating the offense. The Knicks really have not been able to maintain him, to stop him. They really did not even have an answer. Even the best defensive player on the team, OG Anunoby, couldn't guard Dylan Harper. So he should have had that offense initiated by Dylan Harper versus De'Aaron Fox. I know De'Aaron Fox is the older statesman of that team. However, Dylan Harper is the better person to initiate the offense because, like I said, the Knicks did not have any answer for him. And number 3, he just needed to tell his team to stop shooting so many shots when they had double-digit time left on the clock. Now, I know you want to continue to keep your offense flowing, but especially when it got to 5 minutes left in the game, they still had like a 7 to 9 point lead when it was 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they still was jacking up shots with less than double-digit time left on the clock. That made absolutely no sense. And, yeah, they took a lot of three-point shots, but you want to know this is the NBA today. They do take a lot of three-point shots. I mean, that's the way these people play today, the NBA, whether you like it or not. I know a lot of the old-school pundits were really, upset about the situation, but that's how the NBA is today. And the question is, the problem with their shots, they did not get paint touches to go outside to the person shooting the outside shot. These shots were coming down and dribbling and shooting an outside shot. They were not great outside shots, to be honest with you. And that was some of the problems. And he needed to make sure he settled his team down and tell them what they needed to do, and they didn't do it. So, a lot of times it is sometimes about the players, but to me, when you're losing a lead, it's about coaching. As far as the Knicks, it was more about the players than it was about the coach, even though Coach Brown did do one good thing when he put Jose Alvarado into the game, because what that did, it gave him another ball handler. That was some of the issues with the Knicks. They really do not have creative ball handlers other than Brunson, and they was really double-teaming Brunson, so the fact that he put Alvarado in, that was the best thing. And to me, that was really the only key move that Mike Brown did. But for the Knicks, it was about their players. It was about Brunson and OG. That's the reason why they were able to come back. So, again, it depends on the other end of the run. Like I said, when it's about losing it, when a team loses a 20-something point lead, to me that's more about coaching. But when they're gaining a 20-point and they're winning from, that deficit like the Knicks did, that's about the players. All right, Kev, what is your – I forgot. I'm sorry, that's it, Kev. I forgot about the MVP. Okay, at this point in time, to me, OG Anunoby is the Knicks' most valuable player. And I don't even think it's close. I know a lot of the pundits are going to probably say Brunson, but OG has been the most consistent player on the Knicks for this whole entire playoff run. He's averaged about 24 points. He's shooting over 60% from the field. And, of course, he made that iconic tip to win Game 4. I don't think anybody on the Knicks could ever, to me, take away the MVP from him. And who will be the X factor? Who needs to be the X factor for the Spurs? Again, like I told you, it needs to be Dylan Harper. He is the key to them winning. The Knicks have no answer for him. He needs to be able to facilitate the offense for them to win. And in order for the Knicks to win Game 5, who will need to be the X factor? You probably say, I think I would say OG, but no. It still needs to be Karl Anthony Towns. He needs to avoid being in foul trouble, and he needs to be more aggressive. If Cat can join Brunson and OG, the Knicks will win their first championship in 53 years, and he needs to be aggressive and not afraid to shoot the ball. To me, he was passing that ball like a hot potato in Game 4 in several incidents, and I did not like that from Cat. But anyway, all right, Kev, what are you saying about this?
Well, I really appreciate the way that you broke that down. I do think the offense does have to flow through Harper. The challenge is Fox was there to be brought in sort of as the closer, and unfortunately he made two horrendous closer mistakes. The first was in Game 2 when it was tied. The big man had the ball, and I say this as a recovering point guard. When I see my big man get the ball and it's less than 20 seconds in the game, I'm the first guy to take the ball out of his hands. He doesn't even have to pass it to me. I'm coming to get the ball. Fox didn't do that at all. I'm not sure why he decided to run up the court, seeing 21-year-old 7-footer, 7'4", dribbling the ball. He should have went and got the ball. And then in the last game, a lot of people have talked about it, but I was kind of yelling at my TV screen, right? Dribble it out. What are you doing? It's not a guy that you have a size advantage over, right? And you're going aggressive to the hoop. No, that's just dumb. There's no excuse for that. It's got to really flow through Harper, and you do wonder if, I hate to say it, if Fox has played his last game as a Spur, right? Because they need one or two stabilizers on the Spurs. And Fox is probably the best trade bait that they have, because it's clear that the guard rotation that they have now of the kids that are under 24, it's as good as it gets, I think, in the NBA. But, he really hurt them, unfortunately, in two critical spots. Wemby getting rest, for sure. What I found is that when you have a situation like that, again, going back to Spitface in our days, going back to the stadium, is that the Bulls would sometimes pull out some guys that wouldn't be afraid to knock you down to the ground. And the Spurs got a couple of those guys on the bench. So when you got a lead of 20, you're working that clock all the way down before getting a shot, and you're not making it easy on the Knicks. If they're going to score, they're going to have to earn it, right? And they should have got Plumlee, and they should have got Barnes. They should have got some of those old school guys out there to eat up some of that clock. Another one, from my days in coaching, anytime my team's up by 20 in the second half, I don't want them to be running and gunning. Gentlemen, hey, we have 4 touches. You can shoot the ball whatever you want, but you got to first have 4 touches. And you're right. Oftentimes they would get over the half court. It'd be 1 touch, and the shot would go up, and you only are down to like 14, 15 seconds on the 24-second clock. You probably gave the Knicks easy 15 extra possessions in the game just because you didn't milk the clock. That's unexcusable. And it's hard-pressed. And it's not to take anything away from the Knicks, because emotionally, mentally being down as much as they were in the second half, you have to tip your cap to them that they dug in and fought. And OG, the plays that he made, that's the heart of a champion, right? But the other part of this is the Spurs, if this was a boxing match, they didn't guard their chin, and they paid the price. They got knocked out. So it's just another way in which to say it. At the start of Game 5, I think you're right. It's OG. Towns had a great first game, 21 points, but he hasn't scored more than 15 cents. Brunson is kind of the flip side on it. He hasn't really gotten going scoring, really, into the latter half of Game 4. Game 5 was decent. He had some really big shots there, but the first 3 games, he kind of struggled. The guy who has showed up, guarded Wemby when it was crunch time, guy in there dunking on Wemby, that's significant. That says a statement. I'm not intimidated. And the fact of hitting some key threes when he needed to. He's played probably the best of the Knicks. He would be my vote for MVP. Spurs, the X factor, boy, it's tough. I think it is probably Harper. Harper is a guy that's got to be consistent, can't run out of gas to be able to get it done. For the Knicks, it's probably, again, OG or Brunson within that space is the key guys for them to be able to win. It doesn't mean that Towns doesn't have to come up and show out to play some D, but I think in order to get them over the top, OG is going to have to put together 4 or 5 key plays to kind of turn the tide, and Brunson's going to have to be steady enough to withstand the pressure. Good shout out on Brown getting another guard on the floor to withstand that pressure. I'm going to be curious to see if that translates when it goes on the road, but we'll see. Obviously, I like the Knicks' chances of closing it out because as a team of comprised primarily of guys under 25, that mentally has got a strain on you to have given up such a lead like that. I only think of like the Lakers and the Celtics when they had players like Bird and Magic. Each of them had a situation in the NBA's finals where their team just thrashed the other team, and lo and behold, they shook it off, and then they led their team to a victory. We'll see if the Spurs kind of have that mettle yet. It almost feels like Mike Wilbon is going to be right. They have to go through some trials and tribulations before they can get to a championship.
So, Kev, I'm hearing you saying you believe it's more about coaching than the players when it came to giving up that lead. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Is Spitface, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah. First Lady, I'm still upset about that game. I want to go over there and slap Fox upside his beanie head. Here you are at the end of the game. All you got to do is wait for the clock to go down and wait to get fouled. And with that foul, you could have got up there, maybe just hit one. But if you hit both of them, the game is over. And you supposed to be a veteran. Why the hell are you trying to even think? You supposed to be just bouncing the ball around. Wait, come on, foul me. We only got so many. So Kevy Kev, absolutely on point. That I'm sitting up here and I was screaming at the television. Why are y'all shooting the ball? Why are you not draining this clock down? And hell, if it was a football game, somebody might have got ejected. So yeah. Now I will say that OG is right now is the man for the Knicks. And Brunson has had spurts. Catman has done some things, but it's OG. And the Spears, the X factor is gonna have to be Harper. It's going to have to be Harper. And also Mitch's gonna have to wake up. He's gonna have to wake up. Good night. Come on. Because I'm not saying it's the players other than Fox screwing up, but come on, Mitch, wake up. Now Knicks could end this tonight. They could end it. And I'm thinking Avocado might be the X factor. Oh, no, I mean Alvarado.
I already seen you doing your pregame shopping already, aren't you?
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. You think Alvarado, could be his, yeah. But anyway, I think the Knicks are going to close it out. They actually, to me, play much better on the road than they do in Madison Square Garden because several times the Knicks have a hard time. I don't know. I think they get just as nervous as the other teams. The other teams' players, when they come to Madison Square Garden, they want to perform because they know that's a big stage. For some reason, there's so much pressure on the Knicks, and I think that's why they perform better while they're on the road. All right, Spitface, over to you.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, rocking my peers and putting struggles from dead, making the tears rain down like a monsoon, listening to the bass go boom. Explosion overpowering over the competition. I'm howling, record shop when I drop these lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Don't you dare stand, you better move. Don't ever compare me to the rest of the all get sliced and that competition paying the price. I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out. And we are not talking about the knockout punch, the Knicks landed on the nose of the Spurs. We're talking about the knockout punch to President Trump's UFC 250 match being held disgracefully on the White House lawn by performers and citizens alike. A huge thing on what the hell that thing is was built that stands above the White House, that houses this octagon thing and cheapens the view of the people's house. Last night, we pay for that house. That house ain't rent free. They be charging us for somebody else to live there. It's our house. The event is billed as part of the nation's 250th birthday celebration. But people had to pay to see the damn thing. That's right. You got to cough up some cash. And what's up with that? By the way, President Trump just happens to be part owner. And of course, the thing with the fighters, he got his grubby ass fingers in the pot. And of course he will get paid. Now, First Lady Kevin, you know how you got your boys and you got your girls, y'all, lined up, hey, they riding with you. Now, when your girl Nicki Minaj won't perform, and the only entertainer you can get to perform is Vanilla Ice, somebody got a problem. Well, I guess on second thought, not really giving the taxpayers are footing the bill for the entire mess. Leroy Satchel Paige, Walter Buck Leonard, and my man, that's him, James Cool Papa Bell, are asking what you saying. I don't know if I should just shake my head or if I should just shake my head. I actually like some of the matches in the UFC. I'm not a big UFC fan, but I've seen several matches that I like. I wouldn't mind, watching, maybe some of the matchups with some of the top folks. I'd go for that on a Sunday evening on free TV. I could go for that, but such is not the case. The case is that how they used to say, love her to like it, love her or, hate her, whatever, she yours, And this celebration is not for an individual. It's the 250th birthday of a nation, of a whole bunch of folks who ordinarily don't like each other and probably still don't. But they come together, to unify for something a little bit bigger than their own little individual butts and little grubby hands. And first off, I'm going to come to your house. And the next day you look up, I'll build a tree house in the backyard, out of Bud Light cans. That ain't right. That just ain't right. So we try not to go political on this show, but we needed to mention something. But I will say this, and I will repeat this: your girl is Nicki Minaj, and you couldn't get her to perform. I don't know who you riding with. Kevin Cahill, what would you like to say about this 250 match?
It's amazing when we think of how 180 degrees away from where we are from 250 years, from where we started with the very first president, you had somebody who went to a military academy, had tasted war multiple times, clearly commanded the respect of his opponents. I mean, you had in President Washington someone the British admired, right? His military skill and intelligence. It's hard pressed for me to think of a president that could be so diametrically opposite of Washington than what we have now. And you're right, we don't really get into the politics, but it is something where Americans are being charged by their president to participate in 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence celebration, and he's getting paid for it. It just, as you say, it just doesn't sit well. It just doesn't seem right. And if this was just one misstep, but unfortunately, it seems like it's a long line of missteps. I'm hoping that we're not going to have the next step be Hunger Games or something like that, but it doesn't feel like, it feels like that should have been a joke, but that feels like that could actually be reality. Remember the movie Idiocracy? There's a lot of parallels to what's going on right now. But I remain hopefully optimistic as it relates to the majority of people, but in our country, but we've got to do better about the folks that we send to D.C. and the folks that are committing themselves to public service.
All right, Kevy Cab. First off, it does help to be committed to public service. that can make a difference, like at the beginning of the program, And but see, you didn't mention, Nicki Minaj wouldn't perform. What's up with that? well, we can talk after. We'll talk afterwards on that.
Well, you know Dana White's going to hook him up. I mean, Kid Rock is going to do something for UFC, and then there's going to be a shout out. Maybe there'll be even opportunity for the president to do a little dance or something like that as well. He'll work himself in.
Sounds about as exciting as the Polka Show on PBS back in 1968 on Saturday evenings. Okay, First Lady, what you saying?
Oh boy, do I need to talk about President Trump? I mean, I despise him, and I hate when the producers put something on this script about President Trump. I just hate responding. We all know how this president is. It's all about him. Him. I mean, it's his birthday, June 14th, which is Flag Day, and he wants to have this UFC event, which is costing over $60 million to produce. Now, it is through his good buddy, Dana White. And Trump is not really part owner of the event. He has stock in UFC. So, I mean, I guess in a roundabout way, he is I wouldn't say part owner of it, but he does have stocks in the UFC. And it isn't on free TV. It is on, UFC did a major contract with Paramount Plus. So that's where it's going to be shown on streaming. My son, he loves UFC, MMA, UFC. So that's what he loves. Actually, he has gotten me into watching it over this past several years. I mean, it's an exciting event, but is UFC considered American? You know what I'm saying? Usually when you think about you want to do something to commemorate our 250 years of America, you would think that you would have something else being held at the White House. I mean, other than a UFC. I mean, UFC basically just within the last, 10 years has become popular. I mean, maybe he should have done a baseball game or something, obviously not on the White House lawns, but maybe he should have sponsored a baseball game or something of that nature. I mean, that would make more sense to me. But, Donald Trump is Donald Trump. Actually, I don't think they're right now in courts to determine whether or not this fight is going to be is going to happen. I haven't heard any updates, but, a organization filed a federal lawsuit to stop the UFC fight. They claim that it's being filed by the Public Integrity Project in the District of Columbia. They feel that you can't have a private sporting event on public property, and he failed to get congressional approval for the event. And so they put in an emergency application for a preliminary injunction to stop the event. So we will see, because I think they will probably be deciding this today, as a matter of fact. Obviously, if the event is going to happen this Sunday. So we shall see. But, Donald Trump really doesn't care about laws. We already know that. We already know what type of president we have in office. And so, it doesn't surprise me that he did not seek congressional approval for this whole situation. And I just think the whole situation that he wants to do with our celebration for 4th of July, the whole situation is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that he even wants that $250 bill to have his face on it is even more ridiculous than having this UFC event. Who am I to say what's ridiculous or not? But we know what type of person we have in the office right now. And it's a shame. It's a shame because, we're supposed to celebrate our presidents. Obviously, if we have ideology differences, is one thing, but he is somebody that we cannot celebrate. So he's always doing something in the negative. I mean, I was highly upset that James Dolan invited him to the New York Knicks game 3 that we lost, and I think we lost because of him. But anyway, he inconvenienced everybody and just sat up there and slept during most of the game. But that's besides the point. So anyway, like I said, I hope the event does not go through. I hope the federal courts step in and say that it is against the rules and the laws. That's all I'm saying, Spitface.
First Lady, I think I can understand the feeling. But we wanted to get your take on he couldn't get Nicki Minaj to perform. What's up with that?
Oh, well, I'm surprised he couldn't get Nicki Minaj, because we know she's been up his behind the whole time, because she has a loved one that she wants him to pardon. So I mean, that's her whole plan. But I'm shocked that she's not performing. Anyway, let me shut up.
Even she was at it. She said it was radioactive. All right, First Lady, you have the last word. Please take us to break.
Stay tuned. Up next, we have a performance from Children of Adam Band on Shout Out Part 1. I wonder how many children he has.
The music flows in from around the globe to get a shout out from the panel. First Lady, I can't wait to hear the music from Children of Adam Band.
On Shout Out, we feature new independent artists who are looking to find their shining star. If we like what we hear, we will give the track a shout out. If we don't like it, we hit the mute. We are featuring music from Children of Adam Band and their album Timbuktu, The Human Journey. They say Children of the Atom Band's music is hybrid fusion of jazz, funk, R&B, soul, Latin, African, Middle Eastern, and spoken word, all blended with a touch of the American experience. Multilingual with English and dialects speak to the world. That's right. That's a lot of combinations of different music. So I'm looking exciting. Let's hear Searching.
Common sense and wisdom, inspiration, information. Common sense and wisdom, inspiration, information. Common sense and wisdom, inspiration, information. Common sense and wisdom, inspiration. Tell me, where do you go when you don't know to find the answer to the question? Tell me, where do you go when you don't know to find the answer to the question? I'm searching, searching hard. Get up. Looking over here, looking over there, looking everywhere to find the answer. Looking to the left, looking to the right, searching for the light to find the answer. I'm searching, searching hard. Rise. Get up. Wake up, shake up, hard. Rise. Get up. Looking all around, looking up and down, all over town to find the answer. Looking high and low, everywhere you go, when you don't know to find the answer. I'm searching, searching hard. Rise. Get up. Where do you go when you don't know to find the answer to the question? Tell me, where do you go when you don't know to find the answer to the question? I'm searching, searching hard. Rise. Get up. No criticism, no confrontation. What we need is cooperation. No criticism, no confrontation. What we need is cooperation. Peace.
All right. Peace. All right. Okay. Well, that was a lot. You know what? I'm going to shout it out. The music, I really kind of didn't like the music with what they were saying. I thought it was a little bit out of place. However, the wording and their whole meanings, I guess, is what they were saying. I like, so I'm going to shout it out for that. I just thought the music was a little bit too fast for, I guess, the verbiage part. But I'm going to still shout it out. That's my opinion about it. All right, Kev, what did you think? You shouting it out or you hitting the mute button?
Well, I had the same exact feeling you had. I liked the messaging within the lyrics, but I thought the pace and the tempo for the music was a little too fast. But I did like the music, right? So I'm going to shout it out. I'm going to be curious to see what the second song sounds like and what they're saying within that song. And I do appreciate the fact of course, it's always in these days of techno. You don't know if it's somebody hitting a keystroke as creating a sound or if you're actually hearing instruments. But my ears would have suggested that we were hearing instruments from a variety of different places around the globe. So I kind of appreciated that too.
Oh, okay, great. All right, Spitface, you're hitting the mute button or you shouting it out?
I'm shouting it out. To me, they were a testament of the 70s. And really like Earth, Wind, and Fire. And not as smooth, nowhere near that range. they got work to do. But there were a lot of groups back in the 70s who that was how you did it. And it kind of reminded me of that era in jazz where they kind of, like were avant-garde out there on the edge. So, but I like the work and just knowing the reputation of the children of Adam Band out of Philadelphia, PA. That's right. They out there from Philly, so they know not to be faking the funk. See, they know that. And the work that the band does with just a great organization and some peoples there. So a little shout out to them. But I like, that's that. Get a cup of coffee and don't worry, just go with the groove. Just go with the groove and get out the house and get it done. So I'm shouting it out, and I'm gonna go get me an extra cup of coffee.
All right, Spitface. I hear what you're saying because they do have that Mandrill. You remember the group Mandrill? I don't know if you remember that old group.
Yep, Beast from Nick Brand. You're going to bring up Mandrill with the Beast from the East album. Okay. Like I ain't going to know.
We showing our age now, but okay. On part two of Shout Out, we'll feature another performance from Children of Adam Band. Is that the sound of our favorite underwater friend? Is it time for Flip It?
It is time for Flip It, while hosts defend the view and then flip the script and defend the opposing view. If, now I am saying if, the Knicks win the championship, should they be considered the greatest Knicks team ever? Defend. This Knicks team made a lot of history. They should be considered the greatest. Kev, defend.
They should be considered the greatest? All right. Let's look at the wins, losses over the last 45 days. Has any NBA team won as many games in the playoffs as the Knicks have over the last 45 days? They stand atop. There's no dispute, right? They went a whole month without losing. They only lost one game in this series, and they're about ready to, if all the pundits are to be believed, to beat the next generational player after LeBron, Mr. Wembanyama. And they will have taken him down 4-1. They have clearly climbed the mountain, metaphorically and maybe even physically, given the size of Wembanyama. They stand alone in the top. And heck, they even, consistent with this show, shook off the Trump jinx and overcome that too. They are the best.
Well, they shook off the Trump curse, and I have to go that for the Knicks to shape off, because anything that Trump touches turns to shit. I mean, anything Trump touches turns to mud. He came and touched the Knicks, and they still, they had to come back from that, and they win the fifth game. So they, would have had would have whooped up on the Spurs. They the greatest. They the greatest. First Lady, defend. I think First Lady might be muted.
I'm sorry. I had to take some time to think about this because we're talking about my Knicks. So if you're talking about basketball quality rather than historical significance, definitely the 2026 Knicks may be the strongest team of the best team ever. I mean, you have to look at the fact that, like Kev said, they've had the greatest postseason run of any team in the modern era. To be honest with you, they won 13. That's ranked number 2. They just fell short of beating or actually tying the Golden State Warriors team that had a 15 straight playoff run. They survived. To me, they went through a much deeper league than the 1970s Knicks team. As Kev says, they went through. They will beat a generational talent in Victor Wembanyama. If you listen to all the pundits, they actually had the Knicks out in just about every series they played. They even had the nerve to have the Atlanta Hawks beating the Knicks. They had the Cavaliers beating the Knicks. And they're saying that the Knicks went through a very weak Eastern Division to be in the finals. But yet when they're beating the Spurs with Wembanyama, I mean, what are they going to say? That's the reason why, because they had a generational talent in Victor Wembanyama, and they're beating him. So, this team definitely has put the franchise back into an elite franchise. And let's just face it, there's more competitive teams now in this era than what it was in the 70s. Granted, that was a great team, but this team is definitely the greatest New York team ever because of the competition and how difficult it is now in order to have a champion. And that's the reason why I would pick this team as the greatest championship. Well, it will be the greatest championship if they win, because it's on a much larger and deep and more competitive NBA than what teams faced in the 1970s.
All right, First Lady. This is flipping, but we flipped the script. The Knicks will be one of the great Knicks teams, but not the greatest. Now, when I look at that, when I look at everything, this Knicks team, they had a fantastic playoff. They really, really did. And to wrap it all out, it automatically puts them up in that notch where they could be the number one greatest Knicks team. But to get there, see, there are plenty one-hit wonders. And a one-hit wonder does not make the greatest of all time. See, to be the greatest Knicks team ever, you got to be more than a one-hit wonder. Can you do it twice? Can you go back to back? We got to look at what greatness is defined as. You don't get out there and make one record Billy Manelli. Win a Grammy and then think yourself. You know, you can't fake the funk like that. You know, you want to be one of the greatest ever. You got to do it back to back. Ask them bad boys, you know, from Detroit, them Chicago Bulls, them Boston Celtics, you know, them Lakers, those Houston Rockets. You know, you got to do something. You got to come with it. So they win. They get that big old trophy. Yeah, y'all one of the greatest Knicks teams. But you want to be the greatest? We got to see some back to back out here. Kevin Kev, the fan.
Oh, without a doubt. I think it's telling that First Lady paused so significantly there when has to defend that they were the greatest. I mean, that's a different question when we're talking about all time. Just simply winning one championship doesn't put you into the conversation. And really doesn't matter as to one run. I think it can be significant for you, right, to start to prepare the resume, but one run wouldn't do it. I think the fact of the matter is, too, and I don't want this to take any shine away from where I think the Knicks are going, is going to win this championship, but there's going to be some soul searching as it relates to how the Spurs performed in the finals. And I don't want to take anything away from the Spurs coach, because I think he did a fantastic job against the Thunder and definitely took Holmgren out of his rhythm. But against a healthy Knicks team, and the Thunder were not healthy, you do wonder, did they overachieve? And again, I want to make sure that I'm clear here. That doesn't tarnish to me the championship where I think we're going to be celebrating here in the next couple of days that the Knicks are going to have, because they earned it. They were the best team in the NBA this year. They did it out on the court. They should be rewarded for that. But if we're talking about all time, boy, that's a mighty tall order for just one championship ring. I like where the Knicks are. I'm going to be really curious to see what happens with this team over the next couple of years. Their window is probably the shortest, I think, of the teams that we're talking about. The Spurs aren't going to get old in the next 2-3 years. They're going to be there. The Thunder, they've got some choices to make in the offseason. Do they stay in the second apron? Do they continue to pay? But that's a solid team. Jay Williams' stock has probably gone up despite the injury. I'm going to be real see how hungry the Thunder are next year. And I don't want to sleep on the Celtics. I think the Celtics have a lot of key ingredients. So this can clearly be a situation where we're looking back that, and again, not to tarnish Eli because he was at the game. Eli beat the New England Patriots when they were 18-0. But if you were asking me who was the best team that year, I would say the Giants won the Super Bowl, but the best team that year was the New England Patriots. It's not like that with the Spurs. I don't know if I can say that the Spurs were the equivalent if they lose this NBA Finals. But I don't want to necessarily say that the Knicks were King Kong and they dominated so much over the whole entire league that they become the pantheon of all Knicks teams. That would be disrespect to the back-to-back Knicks in the early 70s and the amount of Hall of Famers on that respective team. That team was a very significant team to be in the list of argument among some of the greatest NBA teams of all time.
All right, Kevy Kev, First Lady, the fan.
Well, I don't know if we're trying to say the greatest team ever, but the greatest Knicks team ever. No, this 2026 team, if they win a championship, will not be the greatest Knicks team ever, because you have to go with the 1970 team as the gold standard because of its cultural impact. They won the Knicks' first championship. And right, they had great players on there: Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, David Busher, Bill Bradley. If I'm not mistaken, all four of them, I believe, all of them are considered part of the top 100 players in the NBA. I have to go back and look at that, but I believe they all four are on the consider that. That's how great of people they had on that team. And again, it was an iconic moment there because if you remember, Willis Reed was hurt and he came and limped back onto the floor in Game 7, which was very iconic moment. It was almost, you could match it up to that OG Pippen, but that's an iconic moment for the Knicks history. And it's considered the greatest team-oriented squad ever put together. They were the standard of team play. You play like a team. And that's basically that 1970 team. And I also have to give, and of course they beat that Lakers team 4-3. I mean, that Lakers team was a top-notch Lakers team with Jerry West and that team that they beat in 1970. But of course, and you can look at the 1990-73 because they also they beat the Lakers 4-1. I mean, they did a gentleman's sweep on the Lakers team. But and you added another Hall of Famer. You added Earl Monroe to that team. So no, those are iconic teams. 70 and 73. And it was different basketball played then, but it was less teams. So people want to say it was less competition, but I disagree with that because I think in the 70s, I think it was more competition because you did have less teams. The league really wasn't watered down. So I disagree with that. It was just the style of play was a lot different. So no, the 70s teams, those are the Knicks' greatest team, particularly that 1970 team, because it holds a special place in New York history because they won the very, very first championship for the Knicks.
All right, First Lady. Say, hey, they scratching, but they ain't there yet. First Lady, over to you for more flipping.
Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs reached a deal that can add $522 million to his wallet. Is there any other quarterback in the league that deserves that kind of money? There are a small number of quarterbacks who deserve that kind of payday. One plays for the Ravens. All right, Spitface, defend.
There is that $522 million is part of a bigger deal. And Patrick, I'm looking and I'm going, who else? I mean, I can see Patrick deserves every penny. And I always say that for a professional athlete, given that their body, is what they're using to make their money. That whatever they get paid, they deserve it because it's a body. And you only have the body that you have. So they deserve their money. But I'm looking at, this kind of, just getting cash money. And I'm like, okay, it's a tiny weeny amount of QBs who deserve that kind of payday and who come in that realm. And one of them is that quarterback, for the Ravens. And I would dare say that that quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And I'd also say that quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, I'm looking at, that quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And, now they're in that range where I could see them getting close to that kind of money, but the rest of the quarterbacks in the league, if they just think that the rate of pay for quarterbacks overall is just going to shoot up astronomically where they non-winning butts can make some money, it ain't happening. teeny weeny amount of players, and I may have even overspoke on that. Kevin Kev, back to you, First Lady.
You're welcome. All right, Kevin Kev, as Fitzpatrick said, go ahead and defend.
So, yeah, I think they're doing it, and to your last point there, Spitface, it's actually strategic on the part of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm.
Because the way the collective bargaining agreement reads within the NFL, if I think that I am a top 5 performer at a position, I'm going to ask for more money. I'm going to look to the higher salary. What a team can do is they can put a franchise tag on you, right? So this notion of who are the top 5 continue, and especially on the quarterback position, for the Kansas City Chiefs, they want that number to be really high, because that means the guys that are in that 4 to 8 or 4 to 9 that are trying to get to that last spot so they can rise up their respective salary, that's draining away dollars that those teams have to, use on the defensive side or maybe on the offensive line standpoint. So I think for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's hopeful for them to force the other NFL teams to spend a little bit more on the quarterbacks. To your question, though, is the top 5, okay, Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott. Matthew Stafford, maybe a little healthier, a little younger, I think clearly gets into that conversation as well. Maybe on the other end of that spectrum, a guy who I think has the ability potentially when he matures a little bit more to kind of play like Stafford would be Drake May. So, it's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but it is a situation where there are guys that are, for the most part, that are owning these NFL teams, right? They're not losing money. They're making money. So to that extent, if they have that money that they're making it, I don't really have any problems with the players. The player's salary is not 60% of all the revenue being taken in by the NFL. So to me, good that they're able to do it, that they're given that God-given talent to be able to command those kind of salaries. Top 5 to be in there, I think there are 5, right? That can be somewhere within that range. And on any given Sunday, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills Bills Mafia would probably say they think their guy is still better. Hasn't happened yet, but, they got an argument for it. Joe Burrow can say he's beaten Patrick on a couple of occasions. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, maybe the guy in Philadelphia, by the way, too, Justin Hurts, maybe he should be in this conversation because he's got a Super Bowl ring over those Chiefs and Patrick. So, yeah, I think there are a few in there.
Okay, so you think they can be in that same league. Well, let's get it straight, though. He's only getting $239 million more new money. They reworked his contract is actually what they did. They reworked that 500 and something million from the previous. That's what they do. As you say, Kevin, this is basically to fit under, to give them more flexibility with the cap, the cap. So it's not like he's getting 500 more million. It's really only $239 million. However, who deserves more? Who deserves that type of top dollars? Yeah, you guys called them all. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Those are the only 3 that I would put in there. I don't even think I would put Jalen Hurts in there at this point in time. But Matthew Stafford, yeah, you could add Matthew Stafford. I wouldn't even put Herbert in there as of yet. I don't think he's reached the level of Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. Those are the 3 top definitely. Josh Allen is elite. He's been an MVP, annual candidate for MVP. He lacks Super Bowl appearances. But he's always in the MVP for top player in the league. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. He has multiple MVP awards. His resume speaks for itself. Obviously, he hasn't had appearances. Joe Burrow is the only one who's beaten Patrick Mahomes, so you know he belongs in that category, and he's been to the Super Bowl. So those are the top three. You know, Matthew Stafford, you got to add him too. You know, he's won a Super Bowl. He's actually didn't he win MVP? I think he won MVP for the Super Bowl. Yeah, he won the Super Bowl MVP. And he almost had them again in the Super Bowl last season. So Matthew Stafford is a lot older, so we're not sure how many more years he's going to be playing. But as far as the money, he deserves the money. I think Patrick Mahomes will be making $64 million a year. So, yeah, Stafford deserves that type of money. So, yeah, I think we nailed it on the top three, definitely Allen, Jackson, and Burrows, and we can add Matt Stafford to that. You know, they are all almost on the same level as Patrick Mahomes, but not quite. So anyway, let's flip it. Let's flip it. Patrick is the only quarterback in the game today with the rings to back up paying him that much green. Defend. Bitface.
You know, there's an old saying, it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that ring. And none of them, you know, other than Matthew Stafford, has that ring. And Matty only got one. He only got one. Not his fault. He only got one. And given his age and how much longer he may play, he ain't getting that kind of money. But I go, none of them suckers deserve to be in that range of $500 million because they ain't got no ring. And a bunch of them ain't got no Super Bowl appearances to get a ring. You know, as you said, our man over there in Philly with the Eagles, he got a ring. You know, he got a ring and he don't qualify. So, right on to KC for making the league. The other teams have to spend more money at a position with players who aren't as good or in the realm of a Patrick Mahomes. You know, those that are in the realm of Patrick Mahomes, they got to pay, but everybody else got to pay too. So that keeps them with just any edge you can get. Ask the Patriots. Any edge you can get, take it. Put it in there, you know. So, but do it above board. You know, we don't want no funny business. None of that. But he is the only one. Now, others may luck up and get that green because they, as Kevy Keb, you know, pointed out, it makes everybody have to pay more, and which means there's less in the pie to pay other players. So, yeah, he's the only QB, really, and he has the rings to back it up. That's what I'm saying, First Lady.
Okay, he's the only one. I hear you. All right, Kevy Kev, Patrick is the only one deserves that money. Defend.
Yeah, if you want to climb and be on the mountaintop, right, at the top of Olympus, you got to be there all the time and, as Spitface says, have the rings. So to me, these are uber talented players, right? Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. They've done amazing things, but it's really hard pressed to say they're better and they should be paid at the same level as Patrick. It's got to be a step below. And then when we think of Burrow, the one thing that Burrow has always had, or I shouldn't say has always had the advantage over, because I guess would be slamming Tyreek Hill when he was there. But Burrow, over the last couple of years, let me say it that way, he has had better wideouts than KC has had. You can literally see Patrick throwing his wide receivers over and kind of pointing sometimes in the middle of the play while he's avoiding getting sacked and dancing around in the pocket, trying to coach up his wide receivers is where to go. That's not the case with the Bengals. They've had a luxury of talent at the wide receiver position. So, yes, Burrow has beaten, quote-unquote, Patrick in the playoffs, but I think his offensive weapons have just been much better than what Patrick has. I'm cautiously curious to see what happens with the receiver from Texas that they have, because if that kid pans out, I think you're going to see a kind of a changing of the guard as to how good and even creating more distance for Patrick. So I think he stands alone among all the NFL quarterbacks.
All right. Well, of course he stands alone. I mean, if you're talking about deserving it based on past accomplishment and deserving it based on future value, for past accomplishment, nobody else has met Mahomes' resume. I mean, if we look at Josh Allen, he has 0 Super Bowl appearances. Lamar Jackson does have multiple MVPs, but he has no Super Bowl appearances. Joe Burrow does have 1 Super Bowl appearance, but no title. Jalen Hurts has a championship, but nowhere near Mahomes' sustained body of work. Mahomes is the only quarterback who has combined the multiple championships with multiple MVPs. He has the long-term dominance. I mean, we're just talking about a franchise player that's been consistent for years, where nobody can match that, and he stands alone as far as deserving that type of contract. I mean, he has 3 Super Bowl titles, like I said, multiple MVPs. He's been in the Super Bowl 5 times, 5 appearances. And, he has basically defined what a quarterback it should be for this particular NFL era. And he deserves it more so than anybody, and there's nobody that really can touch his value. So, yeah, there's nobody out there. He stands alone as far as a quarterback deserving that money. All right, Spitface, over to you. Please take us to break.
All right. Patrick Mahomes stands alone on the mountaintop. Past that brewski, Patrick. On the other side of the break, we have another performance from Children of Adam Band on Shout Out Part 2. Please keep your ears glued to those speakers.
Welcome back. The music flows from around the globe to get a shout out from the crew. Spitface, over to you.
All right. We got another track here. Let's see. On the second part of the shout out, we are featuring another track from Children of Adam Band and their album Timbuktu, The Human Journey. This here, Move Out.
Save the children, save the babies, save the children, save the babies, save the children, save the babies.
Time
All right, First Lady. We gonna see whether or not they moving out. I'm gonna give it a shout out. I love the percussion and the horns. They do great on the percussions and horns. And again, it do take me back to the old 70s. I'm about ready to get my dashiki out and and my power to the people with the fist. You know, I was ready to go forward. So, First Lady, what's the verdict?
I'm going to shout it out this time. I thought the music and the wording and the lyrics were more in sync with this song and fit a little bit better together to me. So I'm definitely going to shout it out. Definitely shouting it out.
All right. Okay. Well, that is the end of Shout Out for this week. You can check out Children of Adam Band on the Old Grumpy Radio Network. If you'd like to be heard or have any comments, please send your emails and tracks to talent@oldgrumpyradio.com. First Lady, over to you.
All right. It's time for the hardwood picks. And guess what? We got the results. The production assistants, I mean, they really, really work very hard, Spitface, to get these numbers together. So I'm going to go through I'm going to go through these quickly, okay? Let's go through these very quickly because, we were really, really behind. Well, you know what? There's a lot to go through. So let me just start
Well, where are we at as of today?
Well, as of today, I was going to give some of that, but as of today, and that's going through to game 4. Let's see who's leading. Okay, as of today, Busy Mac is leading with 450 million points. Spitface, you in second place with 420 million points. Right. I'm in third place with 415 million points. And Kevy Kev is bringing up the rear with 200 million points. But, that's where we are as of today. So, you know what? This next game can basically decide it depending if the Knicks win on Saturday. So, this is it. So, let's get to game 5 of the finals. Winner and losers. It's worth 125 million points. Knicks versus the Spurs. I am going, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with the Knicks. I really think they need to close it out. They're going to close it out because, like I said, I think they play so much better on the road than they do. And they've been able to really close. When they had to close games out on this playoff run, they have closed it out every time they needed to. So I'm going to go with the Knicks. All right, Spitface, who you going with?
I'm riding with them Spurs.
Okay. All right. We'll get Dizzy Mac and Kevy Kev's picks later. All right. Over under push for 50 million points. Wimbenyama, 23 points. Spitface. Over under push.
I'm going with the over.
I'm going with the over also. Wimbenyama, 5 rebounds. I'm going with over, Spitface.
Over.
All right. Wimbenyama, 3 blocks. Spitface.
Over.
All right. I'm going with push. Jalen Brunson, 30 points. I went with under last time because I really thought he was going to be more of a facilitator. I'm going to go with under. Again, even though he had 36 points last time, I really think he needs to be under because we need to get more people, and I know Cat needs to take more shots. So I think Cat's going to take more shots. So I'm going to say under. Spitface?
Under.
All right. Jalen Brunson, 5 assists. Spitface?
Push.
I'm going to go with over. I really expect him to be a facilitator. All right. Jalen Brunson, 3 3-point shots made. I'm going to go with push. Spitface.
Puss.
Okay. Knicks, 112 points. Spit face.
Under.
Yeah, it's been, these games have really been under 12. Oh, it's so tough, though. You know what? I'm going to go with over. Spurs, 110 points. I'm going to go with over. Spit face?
I'm going with over.
With over. Okay. True or false? Spurs lead end of first period. Oh, spit face.
True.
Oh, man, I got killed on these true and falses, and now I see they up to 75 million points. Why the over and under not 75? Oh, my goodness, You know what? The Knicks have to come out and lead. I'm going with false. Knicks lead at halftime. Whoa. I really think the Knicks are going to win this game, and I'm going to go with true. Spit face? I guess you're going with false. Okay. Knicks lead at the end of 3 quarters. See, now that's the one. I don't know. I'm going to go with true.
I'm going with false.
You're going with false. Yeah. I don't know. I think the Knicks are eventually going to have a blowout game, and I think this is going to be it. I really do. I really, really do. All right. We will see how well we've done with our picks. All right, Spitface. What is your top story to watch this week?
Team USA and the World Cup. What they gonna do?
My top story to watch this week is to see what is going to happen with Donald Trump's UFC fight. Will the court make a decision today? Because this week, the court's got to make a decision this week. It's over the weekend, so they got to make a decision this week. So that's my top story to watch. All right, check out our current and previous episodes at bras.pantiesandsports.com. This is Cheryl Smith, the First Lady of Sports Talk, and Spitface, along with Kevy Kev and Dizzy Mac. You have been listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. See you next week.